The champagne flute trembled in Meredith's hand as she watched her husband cross the stage. The banquet hall of the airport Marriott glittered with the polished insignias of Transatlantic Airlines, the company Nathan had dedicated the last 12 years to. And this year's Captain of Excellence award goes to Captain Nathan Walker. Applause erupted. Meredith's cheeks ached from smiling so hard. She'd spent 3 hours getting ready for this night. The navy silk dress that matched the airline's colors, her hair swept up in an elegant twist. Perfect pilot's wife, perfect corporate partner. Speech, someone shouted, and Nathan adjusted the microphone with that familiar half-smile that had made her heart skip when they first met at her sister's wedding 15 years ago. "I'm honored," he began, his voice carrying that measured tone he used during turbulence, steady, reassuring. "But this award doesn't just belong to me. It belongs to my incredible crew, to this airline that's become my second family." He found her eyes in the crowd, and she felt herself flush under his gaze. "And most importantly, to my wife Meredith, the true captain of our home, who's kept everything running smoothly for 16 years while I've been chasing sunsets across time zones." Tears pricked at Meredith's eyes as the room broke into applause again. She raised her glass in a silent toast. Nathan's phone buzzed on the table beside her. Instinctively, she glanced down. "Can't wait for Paris next week. Same room? Miss your hands already." The message lingered for 3 seconds before disappearing. A text bubble that would collapse her entire world. But not yet. Right now, in this gilded moment, Meredith was still the adoring wife of Transatlantic's most respected captain. She looked up as Nathan concluded his speech with a perfect, practiced smile. The same smile he gave passengers when he thanked them for flying transatlantic. Meredith's own smile never faltered as she took another sip of champagne, the bitter taste spreading across her tongue. "Mom, have you seen my blue hoodie?" Sophia called from upstairs. Meredith juggled the phone against her ear as she stirred the pasta sauce. "Check the laundry room." "I already did," came the exasperated response of her 16-year-old daughter. "Then check your father's suitcase. He might have packed it by mistake," Meredith suggested, then returned to her phone call. "Sorry about that, Diane. You were saying about the committee meeting?" Her sister continued detailing the latest drama at the hospital foundation where she worked, while Meredith half listened, eyes drifting to the family calendar on the refrigerator. The magnetic board was color-coded, blue for Sophia's activities, green for Meredith's, and red for Nathan's flight schedule. This week, the calendar was dominated by red Paris, Frankfurt, London. 3 European cities in 5 days. The life of an international pilot. "He's gone again?" Diane asked, reading the silence. "Just left this morning. Back Friday night, if weather holds." "I don't know how you do it," Diane said for perhaps the 1,000th time. "All that time alone?" Meredith smiled despite herself. "I'm hardly alone. I have Sophia, the foundation work, my book club. Besides, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Or makes the heart look elsewhere," Diane muttered. "Don't start," Meredith warned, stirring the sauce more vigorously than necessary. "Nathan loves us. The job is just demanding, if you say so," Diane replied skeptically. "But 16 years is a long time to play second fiddle to an airplane." After hanging up, Meredith stared at the calendar. The red markings had increased over the past year. More international routes, longer layovers. Nathan had said it was the natural progression of his career, that the Paris-Frankfurt-London circuit was prestigious. She remembered when they'd first met, how he'd described flying to her. "It's freedom," he'd said, eyes bright under the stars. "You're suspended between worlds, belonging nowhere and everywhere at once." Back then, she'd found it romantic. Now, she sometimes wondered if that nowhere and everywhere philosophy applied to their marriage as well. "Found it," Sophia announced, bounding into the kitchen with the hoodie in hand. "It was in Dad's gym bag." Meredith frowned. "His gym bag? He hasn't been to the gym in weeks." Sophia shrugged, already scrolling through her phone. "Whatever. Can Zoe come over to study tonight?" "Sure," Meredith answered automatically, her mind still on the gym bag. Nathan had told her he'd canceled his membership months ago, claiming he never had time between flights. One small inconsistency. Probably nothing. But that evening, after Sophia and Zoe had retreated upstairs with their textbooks, Meredith found herself in the garage, staring at Nathan's gym bag. She hesitated only briefly before unzipping it. Inside was a pair of running shoes, a water bottle, and a small toiletry bag. Nothing suspicious. She was about to zip it closed when she noticed a receipt tucked into a side pocket. The Magnolia Hotel bar. 4780 Towers, dated 2 weeks ago, when Nathan was supposedly on a layover in Chicago. But the Magnolia wasn't in Chicago. It was here in Denver, just 20 minutes from their house. Lucas Bennett had been Nathan's friend since flight school, and over the years, he'd become Meredith's friend too. As Transatlantic's scheduling manager, he knew all the pilots' routines better than they did themselves. "Hey, stranger," he greeted as Meredith slid into the booth across from him at their usual coffee spot near the airport. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" "Nathan's not due back till tomorrow." Meredith stirred her latte, carefully casual. "Can't a girl have coffee with an old friend without an ulterior motive?" Lucas's smile dimmed slightly. "Sure, but you've got that look." "What look?" "The one you had when you were planning Nathan's surprise 40th? "Like you're working something out," Meredith sighed. Lucas had always been perceptive. "I need to ask you something, and I need you not to tell Nathan I asked." Lucas's expression sobered. "That doesn't sound good." "It's probably nothing," Meredith said, not believing it herself. "But was Nathan scheduled for Chicago 2 weeks ago?" "Tuesday to Thursday?" Lucas frowned. "Let me check." He pulled out his tablet, fingers swiping across the screen. No, he was originally scheduled for Chicago, but there was a last-minute change. Equipment issue. They rerouted him to Paris. Same crew. Different destination? Paris, Meredith repeated, the word feeling bitter in her mouth. "Yeah. With First Officer Chen and," he scrolled. "Flight attendants Patel, Wilson, Reid, and Gomez." "Reid?" Meredith asked. "Vanessa Reid?" Lucas nodded. "Yeah, she's been on Nathan's crew a lot lately. Young, blonde, very professional." "Why all the questions?" "Just trying to keep track," Meredith said lightly, but her mind was racing. Paris. Miss your hands already. Everything okay with you two?" Lucas asked, concerned. "Of course," Meredith lied. "Never better." That night she couldn't sleep. She sat in their home office, illuminated only by the glow of her laptop screen. She'd never checked Nathan's credit card statements before. They'd always kept their finances mostly separate, a relic from when they were both pursuing different careers. Before she'd put her architectural ambitions on hold to raise Sophia while Nathan's career took off. The statement loaded painfully slowly, each transaction a potential landmine. Hotel Lumière, Paris, 580 Restaurant Le Ciel, 243 Quartier, Paris 1240. Meredith stared at the last entry. Cartier. Nathan had never brought her anything from Cartier. Not once in 16 years. Her hands trembled as she opened a new tab and typed, "Vanessa Reid, Flight Attendant, Transatlantic." The search results populated with professional headshots from the airline's website, a LinkedIn profile, and several social media accounts. Meredith clicked on Instagram, and her stomach clenched. Vanessa Reid was stunning, tall, willowy, with ash blonde hair and the poised confidence of someone who navigated the world's most glamorous cities for a living. Her feed was a travelogue of exotic locations, each photo more perfect than the last. Meredith scrolled, heart racing, until she stopped at a photo from 3 weeks ago. A close-up of a delicate silver bracelet with a small airplane charm. The caption read, "A little something to remember our flights together. À te refer grateful, sacred admirer, Paris Moments." Cartier's signature red box was just visible in the background. "I think Dad's having an affair," Meredith blurted out. Diane nearly choked on her wine. They were sitting on Meredith's back porch, the mountain sunset painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. "Sophia was at a friend's sleepover, and Nathan was still in Europe." "What?" Diane sputtered. "With who? When? How do you know?" Meredith recounted everything. The text message, the hotel receipt in Denver, the credit card charges, the bracelet. That bastard, Diane hissed. I'll kill him. Get in line, Meredith said, surprised by the coldness in her voice. What are you going to do? Meredith stared at the mountains, solid and unwavering. Unlike her marriage, apparently. I don't know yet. I need more evidence. I need to be sure. You have the text message, Diane pointed out. I only saw it for a second. And it could have been about something innocent. Even as she said it, Meredith knew she was grasping at straws. What innocent explanation could there possibly be for miss your hands already? You always do this, Diane said softly. Make excuses for him. I do not. Yes, you do. When he missed Sophia's 8th birthday for that unavoidable flight to Sydney. When he forgot your anniversary 3 years in a row. When you had to go to Mom's funeral alone because he couldn't get time off. Meredith's eyes stung. That's different. That's the job, is it? Or is it just Nathan putting everything else before you? Before your family? The words hung in the air between them, weighty with years of unspoken resentments. I gave up everything for him, Meredith whispered. My career, my dreams of starting my own firm, all so he could chase his. Diane reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Then maybe it's time to take something back. The next morning, Meredith drove to the transatlantic terminal at Denver International. She'd called in a favor with Lucas to check the current crew assignments. Nathan was scheduled to arrive from London at 2:15 p.m., with a 24-hour rest period before his next departure to Paris. With Paris again. With Vanessa. She sat in the arrivals area, watching as families reunited with loved ones. A little girl squealed with delight as her father, another transatlantic pilot, swept her into his arms. The scene blurred through Meredith's tears. The arrivals board updated. Flight TA-349 from London arrived. 20 minutes later, the crew emerged, pulling their identical navy rolling suitcases. Nathan was at the front, captain's stripes gleaming on his shoulders, chatting with his co-pilot. And 3 steps behind him was Vanessa Reid, exactly as beautiful as her photos had promised. As Meredith watched, Vanessa said something to the other flight attendants, then quickened her pace to catch up with Nathan. Her hand brushed against his arm, a casual touch that lasted a second too long. Meredith's blood roared in her ears as Nathan smiled down at Vanessa, the private smile he used to reserve for her alone. They didn't see Meredith as they walked past, deep in conversation. She watched them until they reached the exit, where they paused. Nathan checked his watch, said something to Vanessa, and they parted ways. Nathan toward the parking garage, Vanessa toward the taxi stand. No goodbye kiss. No obvious evidence. Just that lingering touch, that private smile. It wasn't proof. But it was enough. You're home early, Nathan said when he walked in the door an hour later. He set down his suitcase and gave her the perfunctory kiss they'd settled into years ago. I thought you had that fundraising thing today. Cancelled, Meredith said, watching his face carefully. How was London? Rainy, busy. He loosened his tie. Flight back was smooth at least. And the crew? He paused almost imperceptibly. Fine, why do you ask? Just making conversation, Meredith said. You know, like married people do. Nathan gave her a strange look. Everything okay? Why wouldn't it be? She smiled tightly. I'm making your favorite tonight. Steak, medium rare. Thanks, but I already ate at the airport. I'm exhausted. Think I'll just shower and crash. Of course he would. 16 years of marriage had taught Meredith that Nathan was always too tired to talk after a flight. Convenient. Before you do, she said. I found something interesting. She pulled out the credit card statement she'd printed. Cartier Paris, 1,200 euros. That's what, about $1,400? That's quite a souvenir. Nathan's face went carefully blank, the same expression he used when announcing flight delays to irritated passengers. It's your birthday next month, he said smoothly. It was supposed to be a surprise. Really? Meredith tilted her head. Because Vanessa Reid seems to be wearing it already. The bracelet with the little airplane charm? It's all over her Instagram. A flash of panic crossed Nathan's face before he regained control. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't, Meredith's voice shook. Don't lie to me, Nathan. Not anymore. He stared at her for a long moment, then sank into a chair, suddenly looking every one of his 41 years. How did you find out? The question, not a denial, hit Meredith like a physical blow. She'd been holding out hope, a tiny part of her praying she was wrong, that there would be some explanation. Does it matter? She asked. I saw the text on your phone at the awards dinner. About Paris, about missing your hands. I saw the receipt from the Magnolia here in Denver when you were supposedly in Chicago. And now the bracelet. Nathan closed his eyes briefly. It's not what you think? Oh? Meredith's laugh was sharp. So you're not sleeping with Vanessa Reid? You didn't buy her a $1,400 bracelet? You haven't been lying to me for… How long, Nathan? How long has this been going on? 6 months, he admitted, his voice barely audible. 6 months. While Meredith had been planning their anniversary trip. While she'd been proudly watching him receive his award. While she'd been defending him to Diane? Why? The question escaped her before she could stop it. Why her? Why any of this? Nathan ran a hand through his hair. It's complicated. Uncomplicated for me. He sighed heavily. You wouldn't understand the life I lead. It's different up there. Different rules, different realities, different moral codes, Meredith suggested bitterly. You don't know what it's like, he continued, as if she hadn't spoken. The pressure of holding all those lives in your hands. The isolation of always being away from home. Vanessa. She gets it. She lives it too. And I don't. How could you? His tone was almost pitying. You've been here, in this house, in this life, while I've been out there. Because I stayed to raise our daughter, Meredith's voice rose. Because someone had to give her stability. Because I put my dreams on hold so you could chase yours. I never asked you to do that, Nathan said defensively. The word struck like a slap. No, Meredith said quietly. You never asked. You just took it for granted that I would. They stared at each other across the kitchen island, the granite countertop she'd selected when they renovated 5 years ago, thinking they were building their forever home. So what happens now? Nathan asked finally. Now, Meredith said, a strange calm settling over her. You pack a bag and get out of my house. Meredith, be reasonable. I've been reasonable for 16 years. I'm done. Get out. Nathan looked like he might argue, but something in her expression stopped him. He nodded once, then headed upstairs. Meredith stayed frozen in the kitchen, listening to the sounds of drawers opening and closing, the familiar rhythm of her husband packing for another departure. Only this time, he wasn't coming back. The Magnolia Hotel bar was quieter than Meredith had expected for a Thursday evening. Plush velvet chairs, dim lighting, and the soft tinkle of piano music created an atmosphere of discreet luxury. The perfect setting for an illicit rendezvous. Meredith had dressed carefully. A black dress she hadn't worn in years, heels makeup slightly more dramatic than her usual style. She'd told Sophia she was meeting with her book club. Another lie to add to the growing pile in their household. She wasn't entirely sure why she'd come. Nathan had been staying at a hotel for the past 3 days. They'd told Sophia he was on an unexpected assignment, buying time before the inevitable conversation that would shatter their daughter's world. Vanessa wasn't hard to spot. She sat alone at the bar, elegant in a simple shift dress, checking her watch occasionally, waiting. Meredith approached, heart hammering against her ribs. Is this seat taken? Vanessa looked up, smile polite but distant. I'm actually waiting for someone, sorry. Captain Walker, perhaps? Meredith suggested, sliding onto the stool beside her. The color drained from Vanessa's face. You're Meredith, the wife, the captain of our home, as Nathan likes to say in his speeches. She signaled the bartender. Gin and tonic, please. Vanessa straightened, composing herself. I should go. Stay, Meredith said, her voice steady despite the chaos inside her. He won't be coming anyway. I told him if he met you tonight, I'd tell Sophia everything immediately. Vanessa's perfectly manicured fingers tightened around her glass. This is inappropriate. Inappropriate, Meredith repeated with a hollow laugh. That's rich, Coming from you? The bartender delivered Meredith's drink, and she took a long sip, welcoming the bitter burn. I didn't come here to fight, she said finally. Then why did you come? It was a fair question. Meredith wasn't entirely sure herself. Curiosity, maybe, she admitted. I wanted to see the woman my husband thought was worth throwing away 16 years of marriage for, Vanessa flinched. It's not like that. No. What's it like then? Enlighten me. We didn't plan this, Vanessa said quietly. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Meredith countered. People make choices. Nathan chose to lie to me repeatedly. You chose to get involved with a married man. Those aren't accidents, Vanessa studied her glass. You're right. I'm sorry. The simple apology caught Meredith off guard. She'd expected defensiveness, excuses. Does he talk about me? She asked suddenly. About Sophia? Vanessa hesitated. Sometimes. He says you're a good mother. The words cut deeper than any insult could have. A good mother? Not a good wife, not a good partner. Just a good mother. How old are you, Vanessa? 32? A decade younger? Of course. And what is this to you? Meredith pressed. A fling? Love? The thrill of the captain's attention. Vanessa met her eyes directly for the first time. I care about him. But I'm not naive enough to think he's going to leave his family for me, if that's what you're asking. He already has left, Meredith said flatly. I kicked him out 3 days ago. Surprise flickered across Vanessa's face. I didn't know. And yet, here you are, meeting him behind my back, again. He said you had an arrangement, Vanessa said hesitantly. That you understood his life on the road? Meredith's laugh was bitter. Is that what he told you? That I gave him permission to sleep around because of his difficult, demanding job? That's convenient. Vanessa's expression shifted from shock to realization, then to something like disgust. He lied to me too, then. Welcome to the club. They sat in silence for a moment, united briefly in their shared betrayal. I should go, Vanessa said finally, reaching for her purse. She paused. For what it's worth, I am sorry. I wouldn't have, if I'd known the truth. Meredith wasn't sure if she believed her, but it hardly mattered now. The bracelet, she said suddenly. The one from Cartier? Was that the first gift? Vanessa touched her wrist reflexively, though she wasn't wearing it tonight. Yes, for my birthday last month. He never remembered my birthdays, Meredith said, more to herself than to Vanessa. Not without reminders. Something like pity crossed Vanessa's face, and Meredith couldn't bear it. Don't worry about me, she said sharply. I'll be fine. I always am. As Vanessa stood to leave, Meredith added, One more thing. I'd appreciate it if you'd request a transfer to a different crew. Vanessa nodded. I already did. This morning. After she left, Meredith ordered another drink, staring at the space Vanessa had occupied. She'd expected to feel triumphant confronting her husband's mistress, or at least vindicated. Instead, she just felt tired and old and profoundly alone. You did what? Nathan's voice rose over the phone. Meredith held the receiver away from her ear, wincing. I met Vanessa for a drink. We had a lovely chat. You had no right. I had every right, Meredith cut in. You're still my husband, legally at least. And she was sleeping with you under the impression that I was fine with it. I thought she deserved to know the truth. Nathan was silent for a long moment. Is that really why you did it? To enlighten her? Or was it just to punish me? The question struck uncomfortably close to the truth. Meredith examined her motives with the same ruthless honesty she'd been forced to apply to her marriage. Maybe a bit of both, she admitted. Does it matter? The result is the same. She's requested a transfer from your crew. Your little Paris rendezvous are over. It wasn't just Paris, Nathan said quietly. The simple statement knocked the air from Meredith's lungs. What? It wasn't just about the sex or Paris or hotel rooms? I care about her, Mir. This isn't some midlife crisis fling. Meredith sat down heavily on the edge of the bed, their bed, where she now slept alone. Are you in love with her? She asked, the question barely audible. Nathan's hesitation was answer enough. I don't know, he said finally. Maybe it's different with her. Easier. Because she doesn't expect anything from you, Meredith said bitterly. No history, no responsibility. No teenage daughter. Just the glamorous parts of you, the captain with the perfect smile and the exotic destinations. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Nathan. Not to me, not to Sophia. At the mention of their daughter, Nathan's tone softened. How is she? Missing you. Confused. Wondering why her dad has been on assignment for almost a week without calling. Guilt colored his voice. I'll come by tomorrow. We should tell her together. Tell her what exactly? That her father is leaving us for a flight attendant? That's going to go over well with a 16-year-old girl. I'm not, Nathan began, then stopped. I don't know what I'm doing, Mer. I just know I can't keep living like this. Pretending everything's fine when it's not. Haven't you felt it too? The distance between us? It's been years since we really talked, really connected. The worst part was that he wasn't entirely wrong. They had drifted apart, settled into parallel lives that occasionally intersected but rarely merged. She'd told herself it was normal for long-married couples, especially with his irregular schedule. But maybe it had been more than that. So this is my fault? She asked. I didn't connect enough, so you found someone who would? No, Nathan sighed. It's not your fault. It's mine. I made the choices that brought us here. I need some time to figure things out. Time, Meredith repeated. You've had 16 years, Nathan. But sure, take all the time you need. Just don't expect me to be waiting when you're done figuring things out. She hung up before he could respond, then sat motionless on the bed, staring at the framed photo on the nightstand. Their wedding day, both of them laughing, eyes bright with promise and possibility. Mom? Meredith looked up to see Sophia standing in the doorway, concern etched across her face. So like Nathan's, it made Meredith's heart ache. Hey, sweetheart. What's up? Was that Dad? Sophia asked, nodding toward the phone. Meredith hesitated. Yes. Is he coming home soon? The question hung between them, weighted with all the things Meredith couldn't yet bring herself to say. How did you tell your child that the family they'd known their entire life was fracturing? That the father she idolized had been living a double life? We're going to talk about that tomorrow, Meredith said carefully. Dad's coming over in the morning, Sophia's expression brightened. Finally. I've got so much to tell him about the science fair project. Mr. Rivera said my design could actually win this year. Meredith forced a smile. That's great, honey. Why don't you go finish your homework? I'll be down to help in a bit. After Sophia left, Meredith opened her laptop and navigated to the website she'd been avoiding for days. The architecture firm where she'd interned before Sophia was born was hiring. A senior position, less prestigious than where she might have been had she continued her career, but a start. She began updating her resume. Each accomplishment she typed a small reclamation of the self she'd set aside to become Mrs. Captain Walker. I don't understand, Sophia said, her voice small. You're just not going to live here anymore? They were sitting in the living room. Nathan perched awkwardly on the edge of the armchair, as if already preparing for flight, Meredith and Sophia on the couch. The morning light streamed through the windows, incongruously cheerful for such a somber conversation. It's complicated, sweetheart, Nathan began. Don't, Meredith warned. Don't give her that line. Nathan shot her a look, then sighed. Your mom and I, we've grown apart. We want different things now. Like what? Sophia demanded, tears welling in her eyes. What's so important that you have to wreck our family for it? Nathan flinched. It's not about wanting something more important. Sometimes people just change. This is about that flight attendant, isn't it? Sophia said suddenly. The blonde one from your crew photo. Meredith and Nathan exchanged startled glances. How did you? Nathan began. I'm not stupid, Dad, Sophia snapped. I've seen how you look at her at the company picnics. And I saw the text she sent you last month when I borrowed your phone to call Zoe. Meredith felt a surge of pride through her shock. Her daughter was perceptive and brave enough to confront the truth head-on. Something Meredith herself had avoided for too long. Sophia, Nathan said gently, what's happening between your mom and me isn't about anyone else. It's about us. Liar, Sophia spat. She turned to Meredith. Did you know? About her? Meredith nodded slowly. I found out recently, and you're just letting him leave? Just like that? Sophia's voice cracked. After everything you've done for him? After all the times you made excuses when he missed my stuff for his precious flights? The naked hurt in her daughter's eyes broke something in Meredith's chest. She'd thought she was protecting Sophia all these years by smoothing over Nathan's absences, by keeping their family intact at all costs. But maybe she'd just been teaching her daughter to accept less than she deserved. No, Meredith said firmly. I'm not letting him do anything. This is your father's choice. But it's also my choice not to be with someone who can't be faithful, who doesn't value what we built together. Nathan winced. Mirror, please. Not like this. Then how, Nathan? How should we do this? Is there a manual for explaining to your child why her father chose another woman over his family? It wasn't a choice between you and, he began. It was exactly that choice, Meredith interrupted. Every time you met her, every time you lied about where you were, every time you spent money on her that should have gone to your daughter's college fund, you chose, Sophia stood abruptly. I can't listen to this anymore. Sophia, wait. Nathan reached for her, but she pulled away. Don't touch me. Her voice was ice. You know what the worst part is? I defended you. All those times Mom was sad because you weren't here, I told her it was just your job. That you were doing important work, saving for my future, all that crap. But you were just, what? Having fun with some flight attendant while we sat home waiting for you? It wasn't like that, Nathan protested weakly. Then what was it like, Dad? Explain it to me. Make me understand how you could do this to us. Nathan looked helplessly at Meredith, but she offered no rescue. This was his mess to navigate. I made mistakes, he said finally. Terrible ones. I never meant to hurt either of you. Sophia laughed, a harsh sound that reminded Meredith painfully of her own bitter laugh at the Magnolia Hotel. That's not good enough, Sophia said. Not even close. She walked out, the slam of her bedroom door echoing through the house. Well, Nathan said into the silence, that went about as badly as possible. What did you expect? Meredith asked. That she'd wish you happiness with your new girlfriend? That she'd thank you for your honesty? Nathan rubbed his face. I don't know. I didn't want to be the villain in her eyes. Then you shouldn't have acted like one, Meredith said simply. Actions have consequences, Nathan. Even at 35,000 feet. The architecture firm's offices were sleek and modern, all glass and steel and natural light. Nothing like the cozy, cluttered home office where Meredith had been freelancing sporadically for the past few years. Impressive resume, Elena Cortez, the firm's principal, said as they sat in the conference room. The restoration project for the Blake Street Historic District shows real vision. Thank you, Meredith said, warmth spreading through her chest. It had been years since anyone had acknowledged her professional accomplishments. It was a passion project. And the gap? Elena asked, tapping the conspicuous 15-year hole in Meredith's work history. Family priorities, I assume. Meredith had rehearsed this answer. Yes, I took time to raise my daughter while maintaining select freelance projects. It was the right choice for my family at the time, but now I'm ready to return to full-time practice. Elena nodded. Honesty, I like that. Many candidates try to dress up their gaps with consulting titles or exaggerated freelance work. I considered it, Meredith admitted with a small smile. But I'd rather start with the truth. Refreshing. Elena closed the portfolio. Why now? After 15 years? The question caught Meredith off guard. In her preparation, she'd anticipated questions about her technical skills, her knowledge of current building codes, her familiarity with the latest design software. Not this direct inquiry into her personal motivation. My circumstances have changed, she said carefully. My daughter is nearly grown, and my marriage is ending. She hadn't planned to share that last part, but something about Elena's straightforward demeanor invited honesty. I see. Elena's expression softened slightly. That's significant. It is, Meredith agreed. But it's also an opportunity to reclaim the career I put on hold, to remember who I was before I became someone's wife and someone's mother. And who was that? Meredith considered the question. Someone with ambition, with vision, someone who looked at empty spaces and saw possibilities. Elena smiled, the first real smile of the interview. That's exactly who we need on the Milwaukee Street project. It's a mixed-use development in a transitional neighborhood. The investors want something safe, but the community needs something transformative. Transformative, Meredith repeated. I like the sound of that. As she left the building an hour later with a job offer in hand, Meredith felt lighter than she had in months. The sidewalk was busy with the lunch crowd, young professionals hurrying between meetings, couples lingering over outdoor tables, the rhythm of a city in motion. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Got an A on my physics test. Zoe's mom can drive me home. You still at your interview? Meredith smiled as she typed back. Just finished. Got the job! Celebrating with lunch downtown if you want to join. The response came quickly. OMG, congrats! Can't today but def tomorrow. So proud of you, Mom. Proud. The word warmed Meredith from within. When was the last time anyone had been proud of her? She'd spent years being proud of Nathan, of Sophia, but somewhere along the way, she'd stopped giving herself anything to be proud of. As she tucked her phone away, a familiar figure caught her eye across the street. Nathan, in his civilian clothes rather than his uniform, sitting at an outdoor cafe. He wasn't alone. Vanessa sat across from him, her hair gleaming in the sunlight. Meredith froze, breath caught in her throat. They hadn't seen her yet. She could walk away, preserve the fragile peace of the morning, the triumph of her job offer. But as she watched, Nathan reached across the table and took Vanessa's hand. The gesture was tender, intimate, and performed in broad daylight, in the middle of downtown, where anyone might see. Where their daughter might see. Before she could reconsider, Meredith was crossing the street, purpose in her stride. Enjoying your lunch? She asked as she approached their table. Nathan jerked his hand back as if burned. Meredith, what are you doing here? Job interview, she said, gesturing to her portfolio case. I start next week as a project architect at Cortez & Associates. Nathan's surprise seemed genuine. You're going back to architecture? Yes. Turns out there's more to me than being Captain Walker's wife. Who knew? Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. I should go. No need, Meredith said coolly. I won't keep you long. I just wanted to say that if you're going to continue, whatever this is, you might consider being less public about it. For Sophia's sake. We weren't, Nathan began, holding hands in broad daylight in the middle of downtown. Meredith raised an eyebrow. Sophia comes here with her friends all the time. Did you even think about that? Nathan had the grace to look ashamed. I'm sorry. You're right. It's not just about me anymore, Nathan. It's about our daughter. She's devastated, angry, confused. The least you could do is be discreet until she's had time to process all of this. Vanessa spoke up, surprising both of them. She's right, Nate. We should be more careful, Nate. The diminutive jarred Meredith. In 16 years of marriage, she'd never once called him that. He'd always been Nathan, solid, dependable Nathan. Captain Walker? Thank you, Meredith said to Vanessa, meaning it. Then to Nathan. Sophia got an A on her physics test. You should call her tonight. She might actually answer. As she walked away, Meredith waited for the familiar ache, the jealousy, the sense of loss that had been her constant companion since discovering the affair. But instead she felt something unexpected, pity. Not for herself, but for them, Nathan and Vanessa with their clandestine romance built on lies. Nathan with his compartmentalized morality that let him believe he was still a good man despite his betrayal. Vanessa with her borrowed time, her temporary happiness. Meredith stepped into the sunshine, portfolio in hand, future spreading before her like an open sky. 6 months later, the divorce was final, a stack of papers that officially ended 16 years of marriage, reduced to financial settlements and custody arrangements. Meredith sat on her back porch. Her porch now, legally and wholly, watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of gold and purple. A glass of wine sat untouched beside her as she reviewed the final drawings for the Milwaukee Street project. Her project, the one that had earned her a promotion to senior architect in record time. The sliding door opened, and Sophia stepped out, dressed for an evening out. "How do I look?" she asked, twirling to show off her new dress. "Beautiful," Meredith answered truthfully. "Zoe's going to love it," Sophia flushed with pleasure. "You don't mind that I'm missing Friday night dinner?" "Of course not. It's prom night. That trumps our standing date. Dad's picking me up from Zoe's tomorrow. He wants to take me to brunch before his flight to Tokyo." "That's nice," Meredith said, meaning it. The past months had been difficult, but Nathan had made genuine efforts to rebuild his relationship with Sophia. Weekly calls, consistent visits, showing up for her science fair and college tours. Meredith had to give him credit for that at least. "Is she going to be there?" Sophia asked hesitantly. Vanessa remained a sensitive subject. Nathan had continued seeing her, though with the discretion Meredith had requested. Recently, he'd begun gently suggesting that it might be time for Sophia to meet her, a suggestion that had been firmly rejected. "I don't think so," Meredith said carefully. "But honey, eventually—" I know, Sophia sighed. "Eventually I'll have to deal with the fact that Dad has a girlfriend who's only 16 years older than me." "But not tomorrow, okay?" Meredith nodded. "Not tomorrow." After Sophia left for her prom, Meredith found herself restless in the quiet house. She'd grown accustomed to solitude over the past months, had even come to appreciate the freedom it offered. But tonight, with the finality of the divorce papers still fresh, the emptiness felt heavier somehow. On impulse, she called Lucas. "Hey, stranger," he answered warmly. "How's civilian life treating you?" It had become their private joke, Meredith's honorable discharge from the ranks of airline wives. "Just signed the papers today," she told him. "It's official. How does it feel?" "Surreal. 16 years, dissolved with a signature. You doing okay?" The concern in his voice was genuine. "Actually, yes," Meredith realized. "Better than okay. But I could use some company. Drinks at the Beacon in an hour?" The Beacon was the newest rooftop bar downtown, part of a building Meredith's firm had renovated. Far from the hushed elegance of the Magnolia Hotel, it was vibrant, energetic, like the life she was building for herself. Lucas was waiting when she arrived, looking more relaxed than she was used to seeing him in the transatlantic offices. Without his scheduling manager's perpetual frown of concentration, he was quite handsome, she realized with mild surprise. "To new beginnings," he said, raising his glass. Meredith clinked hers against it. "And to old friends who showed up when it mattered." Lucas had been her unexpected rock through the divorce, the neutral party who understood both worlds, who never took sides but always offered support. Their friendship had deepened in ways she hadn't anticipated. "Speaking of new beginnings," Lucas said, "I have news." "Oh?" "I'm leaving Transatlantic. Got offered a position with Frontier as their operations director." "Lucas, that's fantastic. When do you start?" "Next month. Better hours, better pay, home every night." He hesitated. "Actually, you were part of my inspiration, me, watching you start over, seeing how happy you are now, doing what you love. Made me realize I've been settling too." Meredith felt a flush of pleasure at the thought that her choices had influenced him positively. "Well," she said, raising her glass again, to not settling. Later, as they walked along the riverfront promenade, the city lights reflecting in the water, Lucas took her hand. The gesture was tentative, questioning. Meredith hesitated only briefly before lacing her fingers through his. "Is this okay?" he asked softly. "It's new," she admitted. "But yes, I think it is." They stopped at the railing overlooking the river, the night air cool against her skin. "I've wanted to do this for months," Lucas confessed. "But it never seemed like the right time." "It might not be the right time now either," Meredith said honestly. I'm still figuring out who I am without Nathan. Who I want to be, I know. And I'm willing to wait. His smile was gentle. I'm not going anywhere, Mer. The use of her nickname, once Nathan's exclusive domain, felt different coming from Lucas. New, but not unwelcome, as if summoned by the thought. Meredith's phone buzzed with a text. Nathan. Heard the papers came through today. You okay? The concern was genuine, she knew. Despite everything, there was still care between them. 16 years couldn't be erased entirely, even by betrayal. I'm good. Really good. With a friend, she hesitated, then added, starting fresh. His response came quickly. You deserve that. I'm sorry I couldn't be what you needed. Meredith stared at the message, surprised by the simplicity and sincerity of it. After months of excuses and justifications, here finally was the acknowledgement she'd needed. We both deserve happiness, she typed back. Even if it's not with each other. She put her phone away and turned back to Lucas, who was watching her with patient understanding. Nathan? He guessed. She nodded, saying goodbye in his way. And are you ready for that? To say goodbye to that chapter? Meredith looked out at the river, flowing steadily toward new horizons. She thought of the Milwaukee Street project, of Sophia's college applications, of the woman she was becoming. Architect, mother, friend. Maybe someday something more to Lucas. Yes, she said, the truth of it settling in her bones. I'm ready for what comes next. 1 year later, Meredith stood in the gleaming atrium of the Milwaukee Street development, champagne in hand, surrounded by colleagues and clients celebrating the project's grand opening. Sunlight streamed through the skylights she designed, casting patterns across the terrazzo floor that mimicked the flow of the nearby river. To the vision of our senior partner, Elena Cortez announced, raising her glass. Meredith Walker, who transformed a forgotten space into the heart of a community. Applause rippled through the crowd. Meredith smiled, accepting the praise that once would have made her uncomfortable. Actually, she said into the momentary quiet, it's Meredith Lawson now. I've reclaimed my maiden name. It had been a symbolic act, the final step in reclaiming her identity. Sophia had been supportive, even offering to change her own name in solidarity, though Meredith had assured her it wasn't necessary. As the celebration continued, Meredith slipped away to the rooftop garden, her favorite part of the design, a green oasis above the city. Lucas was waiting, as they'd arranged. It's magnificent, he said, gesturing to the space around them. You're magnificent. Their relationship had evolved slowly, cautiously over the past year. Weekend hikes, quiet dinners, long conversations that stretched into the night. Nothing like the whirlwind romance of her youth with Nathan, but something steadier, more grounded. Thank you for being here today, she said, taking his hand. It means a lot. I wouldn't have missed it. Besides, he added with a grin, dating an award-winning architect has its perks. Best seats in the house. A notification chimed on her phone, a reminder for Sophia's move-in day at Colorado State tomorrow. Her daughter had chosen to stay close to home, majoring in aerospace engineering. Like Dad, she'd said when she made her decision, but with both feet on the ground. Nathan would be there too, helping with the heavy lifting. They'd found a tentative peace, a new way of being family without being together. He and Vanessa were still dating, though Sophia had only recently agreed to meet her formally. She's actually okay, Sophia had reported back grudgingly. Still weird, but not her fault Dad's a cheater. Penny for your thoughts? Lucas asked, pulling her back to the present. Meredith smiled. Just thinking about how much has changed. 2 years ago, I thought I knew exactly what my life would be. Mrs. Captain Walker forever, the perfect corporate wife, watching from the ground while Nathan soared. And now? She gestured to the building below them, her vision made real, solid, and lasting. Now I build my own towers to the sky. Lucas leaned in, his kiss gentle but certain. I always knew you could fly on your own. As the sun began to set over the mountains, casting the city in a golden glow, Meredith thought about flight paths, how some were fixed and predetermined, following airways established long ago, while others could be charted anew, discovering unexpected vistas along the way. Nathan had chosen his path, with all its compartmentalized morality and 35,000-foot perspectives. And finally, after all these years, Meredith had chosen hers, rooted in the earth she'd once thought constraining, but now recognized as the foundation of something far stronger than she'd ever imagined. From here, the view was infinite.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.